Hi everyone, this is Nikki Jameson here, and I'm back again with another demo in Rebelle 6 Pro. And today we're going to look at a little play around in the watercolor brushes, but with a different approach. And the approach I'm going to experiment with today is involves wetting the paper. So this is something that can create some very interesting landscapey and yet abstract effects on your canvas. It takes some playing around with because it's a little bit I would say it's unpredictable. It's not something you necessarily can have a reference photograph of, but with a little bit of creativity you can play with this using color and texture. And so I thought it would be a nice idea to sort of see what this is doing in Rebelle 6. And as always, there's very little limitations to how you might do this. So I'm just going to play around with this, and we'll just see what happens. So what are we doing here? So first of all, with this piece I'm doing here, I'll just move it to the side here. I have a fairly coarse, so this particular painting is, I'm going to use a feature called wetting the paper. So this is, you'll see this is in the little drop highlighted here, and what this does is add water to your canvas. You can choose the amount of water you add. So if you want it very wet, you obviously will move that higher, and you can choose from a number of different brushes. I tend to want a big size brush, so you might have to play around with the brushes to see which ones work for you. And basically it's the equivalent of adding water to your canvas. In my previous painting I only added water to a certain level, right? And I think I used the sponge. The sponge will make it a little bit denser, and you can add paint and then add water as we go along. Now this is just a demo, so we're just going to see how this works out. Now typically in watercolor painting you'd add water to a specific spot, and you'd paint, and then you'd add more water where you needed it. Okay, so now we've added water using our splatter brush. We've added quite a bit of water here, really for demo purposes. What I'm going to do is go back to the watercolor category of brushes. So you can see that once you go back to the brushes, you can't actually see where you have added any water. And the way to, and in fact I'm going to turn nano pigment off for now. Once you've turned it off, you get this, you get your blank canvas back. And that auto thing was it lagging a little bit. So I'm going to make sure that I'm on paint, and I'm going to try, which brush shall I try here? This is, all the brushes do something really different. So it's really a question of what you want to play with. And I'm not really sure what I want to play with, so I'm going to pick a round. Maybe I'll pick a round 2. It's a denser brush. And I'm going to start with maybe this. Let's play with this dark blue first, without that. Don't want that really. I just want to pick the color. And what I'm going to do is just make a few marks on the paper. I'd rather like it a little bit bigger. So, and what you'll see is, with this brush at least, it's making some marks here. And what I want to do is add this lighter blue. And you can do this on different layers. I actually prefer painting on different layers, but you have to give a little bit of thought to it. So for now, I'm going to just do it on this one layer. Let's choose another brush here. Let's choose a flat 2. I'm going to move that up and increase the water a little bit. And this is interesting. It lags more in Rebelle 6, I found. I'm not really sure why that is. I know it's quite resource heavy, So maybe that's some feedback I need to get, because I didn't get this in Rebelle 5. And this is quite a small brush, in my opinion, anyway. And then I'm going to add, let's try a linear brush. Add somewhat of a darker color. Let's try this. So, really just experimented with making marks here. The more water you add, the more of a mark you will get, since we're using watercolor brushes here. And let's vary up the strokes a little bit. Now, I'm going to add a little bit of white here, although that isn't going to show as much. But what you'll see happening here, especially at the top, you see that the diffusion is taking place here. And if I want to, let's just see if this will work. If I want to speed this up, I can actually blow on these strokes by pressing the blow tool here. And what it should do is diffuse this a little bit more, or a little bit faster. Now, exactly how long it's going to take to do that, I don't know. So I'm going to go back to take that off. I'm going to go to bristle, the bristle brush, and I'm going to try and put in some more marks. Let's take a lighter one here first, just below this. So really, we're making some marks here. You can see that it is diffusing at the top. Actually, it's actually taking its sweet time, which is fine. A lot of this is experimentation, and also knowing what colors you want and how much you want them, and which brushes work well with this. Let's increase the water. Yeah, if I increase the water there, I'm going to get much more of a pronounced mark. Now let's actually take this ochre, sorry, not orchid, ochre. Let's put that here. So I'm not really going to blow on it for now. Let's just let it do its thing. So you'll have to play with increasing the water. If you decrease the water, you'll get a drier stroke. Okay? You can sort of put something there. I don't know, maybe we've got some storm clouds there. Just really seeing what transpires out of this. I'll show you the other, well, you saw the other picture that I was doing. It was nothing like this. So it's always a risk doing these. But if you get it so that you have your colours sort of mixing, you can get some very interesting marks. So we tried bristle. Let's actually see if we can try this gouache brush. I haven't really played a lot with the gouache brushes. I'm going to do a demo on them at some point, but they're really I think they're more predictable than the watercolor brushes, and I really am quite excited about them. Let's put a bit more of this grey. Oh, why is that green? I didn't want green, I wanted grey. It's so tiny there. But anyway, you can see how so this is the gouache filbert that I'm using here. I think I want to put some of that up here just to give some impression of distance in our very, very loose landscape. Alright, this is actually quite fun, and I'm doing it as a demo, so you can imagine I'm keeping an eye on the time, and I'm not quite sure which brushes work well yet with this program. And I want this one, I want this gunmetal kind of colour. So Rebelle 6 Pro, make sure I get that in the right order, has very recently been released. It's not It's not even a month yet. Look at that. I really like that. That's kind of nice. So I'm still playing around with the program. What do we? Let's have this orangey, just to see what it does. So I'm adding this in a sort of striation. Let's just select some color here, just to get and when we turn the pigment mixer on, we should be able to see if we get something even more pronounced. Now I want to see if this is yeah, so we've reached the extent of where I actually had the water. I'm going to add, let's go with the sponge. Let's take this down. And then go back to our watercolor. So here we've added some more water. I have been in the gouache brushes. Let's just see. If I put this on paint and mix, you might even be able to get something. I like that orange actually. How about that being like a kind of sunset in the distance? You know, when you get these fiery clouds. And let's put some color in there. I mean, this is completely made up. All right, so, you know, if I press with my brush, as opposed to just doing strokes, let's paint and mix. Let's just, and I think if I was to maybe increase the diffusion a bit, the gouache brushes are a lot more they're a bit more controllable than the watercolor brushes. Okay, so to add another layer, and again, perhaps wet the layer. Let's choose another another. So this is not. In fact, let me turn this off. If I turn that off, this is a new layer that I'm adding. So let's say I wanted to add some more interest. Cause some more scatter. Okay. For argument's sake, and let's put a little bit down here, right? And then I can turn the layer back on and go back to the watercolor brushes, and I'm going to go back up to the watercolor ones. Let's just try linear. Oh, I think it's linear. Let's try linear 2, and let's add some. Whoa. We'll add some white there. Let's make it less opaque. And let's try and blend that white a little bit. Because really, I just want to add some lightness there, as opposed to, you know, white strokes. But it can, and you need to play with the brushes. Whoa, look at that! Not sure that's what I wanted. Might be a bit big, but you can see if you're really observant, and you can have a lot of fun with this. It's a good way to get to know the brushes, in fact. Okay, so, and if you're not too precious about where you put your strokes, what happens is that you can have these strokes diffuse. You're wetting the canvas again. Okay, and then if I go, what should I use? Sample this. And I'm going to go to bristle. Anytime you want to see where you put the water, you can just switch that on. Just remember, you have to switch it off, you have to go to the actual brush, which is a bit weird. I wish it was an on and off thing, but you know what? I think it's just a question of getting used to it. You can add another layer and you can actually, you know, blend. This won't blend on this particular layer, but if I go back to the layer that I was on and blend on that layer, I can get this blend in a little bit better. Okay, so that was all on paint. All right. And you know, you can put some trees. So blended, it's not going to add paint. Just increase that. Actually, that's paint and mix. What am I talking about? That's paint and mix. Blending it will fill out some of those marks. You can see them here. The great thing about layers is that it can help you fine-tune areas of, you know, what you're doing. So I mean, this is really rough and ready, but it's a very interesting way of working. And before I end this this video, I'm going to show you what it looks like with the pigment mixer on. And make sure you're on the correct layer. Turn the pigment mixer on, and you can immediately see how it impacts the light. See? You can, of course, now use brushes to dodge and burn. So you can actually, these are new brushes, also in Rebelle. So if you want to lighten a particular area of your painting in relation to the other areas, you can now do that. And if you want to darken an area, you can also do that as well. And you know, you can skip to the top layer again, do some blending, and basically what's going to happen, because you've added water, is that it's going to diffuse into this into other areas of your painting and give you some very interesting outcomes. Okay, so I hope you found this video useful. I'll definitely be trying this technique again. It does take a lot of experimentation, I find, but it can produce some really interesting and not so, you know, some unexpected results. And I really kind of love this, because you really don't know what you're gonna get. It's got lots of possibilities. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and this experimental brush demo. And what we were using were the watercolor brushes and some of the gouache brushes, and primarily what we were doing was adding water to the canvas before we painted on it using the watercolor brushes in Rebelle Pro 6. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel for more demos. Hopefully I'll see you in another video. Take care. Bye.